good. Be good.
Out of the way, Gertie. Let me see. Oh, God.
Elliot.
What?
Elliot.
I taught him how to talk now. He can talk now.
Elliot.
Look what he brought up here all by himself.
Elliot.
What's he need this stuff for?
E.T. Can you say that? Can you say E.T.? E.T.
E.T.
Ha ha!
E.T. 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 Be good.
Be good. I taught him that too.
You should give him his dignity. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Phone.
Phone? He said phone? He said phone.
Can't you understand English? He said phone.
Home.
You're right. That's E.T.'s home.
E.T. Home phone.
E.T. phone home.
E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home.
He wants to call somebody.
E.T. phone home. Home.
E.T. phone home?
E.T. phone home.
And they'll come?
Come home.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
You can't handle the truth. King Kong ain't got shit on me. I am the third revolution.
I am so much crazier than you.
I am the one who knocks.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Nice thing, big boy, huh? That's bright. Fuck you.
Everybody on? Good. Great. Grand. Wonderful.
This is Facing Off. I am your mint co-host, Nick. This is my penis-breathed co-host,
Hey,
Gabe.
dude. Excuse me.
And like I said, we are Facing Off, a podcast in which we compare, contrast, and rate two movies with similar plots or similar directors or the same director or the same actors or some other stretches of the some similarity we can find between them.
Hey, man.
Right?
We build bridges, baby. We build bridges.
Yep, we build them. We don't burn them. We build them.
What up, Nick? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I got my blueberry coffee, as is now customary.
Nice, dude. I had my vanilla nut coffee.
Oh, bet it was an extra nut.
Oh, extra nut. Come home. Yeah, man. Dude.
What is today's
super
episode?
Excited to do these movies.
What are we doing?
E.T.
The Extra-Terrestrial.
They're Extra-Terrestrial and Super 8. Quick shout out, as we always do. In real life, I want to give a shout out to all the doctors and scientists and healthcare professionals and essential business owners and the proactive governors who are doing their job and protecting all of us. I will say in sci-fi movies, I want to give a big boo to all scientists, government, and military people.
True.
They're all fucking horrible in science
They
fiction
are
movies.
often the antagonist.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
True that.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I think we just have a distrust of the government and military
Maybe.
and fucking science. Yo, dude, do you have a synopsis for each of these movies so that
I
people
do.
that haven't seen them somehow
We didn't
can
get.
know
Do we
what
get
happened?
any? Do we get any emails or anything?
We got no emails.
No, we got nothing. All right, we'll just jump right into it. Screw
I thought
it.
that someone said no. I'll talk about something later.
It
but
looked like
yeah.
you were looking out your window, like something was happening out there,
I
dude.
was searching for a better future. I don't know.
Dude, I was doing very well today. I had my vitamins this morning. I was feeling healthy. I was on a run. Came within 6 inches of being crapped on by a bird today, dude.
Whoa, holy
You gotta cross your lucky stars sometimes,
bird
man.
shit.
Yeah. All right,
Well, I'm
synopsis.
glad you didn't, because I wouldn't want to be looking at your face with a bunch of poop on it.
True. Thanks. Me either. I wouldn't want to feel it on my face, the
Yeah.
poop. All right, Super 8 versus E.T. We've chosen these two movies because they're both about benevolent aliens who other people think might not be benevolent, but they're benevolent.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Super 8 is a story of a group of young aspiring zombie film auteurs who accidentally capture a train accident that releases a secret government imprisoned alien being in a small Ohio town. Casual. Happens every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our young auteurs, led by, is that how you pronounce that?
Auteurs. Yeah.
Auteurs, led by Joe and Alice, uncover clues about the alien, an intelligent being that can deeply connect with the psyches of the people it touches with its tentacles, just like Meryl Streep. Joe rescues Alice from the monster and reconciles his differences with his father before the town watches in awe as the monster rebuilds his ship and flies home, escaping the military forces that, as you were saying before, are just like really criminal, and started a raging brush fire before storming the town in pursuit of what is basically Puff the Magic electromagnetic telepathic alien. Lens flare, exposition, lens flare. That's the plot.
Yeah,
E.T.
little did most people know that Meryl Streep actually played the alien in Super 8. Super versatile actress.
It's based on her. She
Yeah.
can touch the psyches of America with her tentacles.
True. I like
E.T. is the story of how do you not know the basic plot of E.T.?
Yeah.
Like, you know what he does.
Do
He
we even
homes
need
phone.
to explain? Yeah.
E.T. homes phone.
Yeah.
He homes phone. He phones home. E.T. phones home. He comes. Because he's stuck here after his alien boys accidentally leave him behind. When E.T. stumbles into the home of a suburban family with clear father abandonment issues, Elliot, his brother, and a tiny Drew Barrymore must help E.T. to build a communication device and call the boys back to the yard. E.T.
The boys
grows
are
ill.
back in the yard.
E.T. grows ill, however, and almost dies before Elliot revives him using the connection they share once E.T. touches him consensually.
Ooh.
Elliot is helped by a man that E.T.
I
visited.
think actually Elliot was under the age of consent. Thank you, but
Oof. Uh-oh. Stumbled into
well, you put that
dangerous
joke in
territory.
there.
I did. Elliot is helped by a man that E.T. visited back when the man was younger, and that's just in there.
I
but
forgot.
yeah.
Oh, that's what Keys is talking about.
Yeah, and then everyone bids E.T. a tearful goodbye as he and the alien boys get back in their spaceship whip and they fly away.
Boom, boom, ba-boom, boom, ba-boom. I actually didn't have a real song there, but it would have been sick if there was some send-off music that wasn't John Williams in that part.
Dude,
And it was
E.T.'s
just-
alien boys just leave him behind. Although I did read in the trivia that E.T. is actually neither male nor female and is many millions of years old. So, you know.
Holy crap. And
I don't know, man.
Maybe in the same universe as Star Wars.
Possibly. That's true.
He's in Phantom Menace. Yeah,
We've chosen these two movies because they are about like a benevolent alien that people don't really know is benevolent, and also both aliens can like make a connection with a person psychically.
Yeah.
It's all very scientific. I don't want to get into it right now, just by touching them.
Yeah, I also think it's good to do this because you're taking it's like Spielberg, one of Spielberg's classic original movies, compared with one of the movies that was inspired by E.T. Like Super 8 is essentially a tribute to E.T. and the other works of Spielberg by JJ Abrams, who is essentially like a mentee of Spielberg.
And many people don't know this. His first name stands for Jar Jar.
Yeah, it's Jar Jar Abram, for sure. Cool. We are going to break these two movies down using 5 categories and a rating scale of 1 to 7 for each of the categories, 1 being lowest, 4 being the middleest or average or neutral, and 7 being highest, greatest, all-knowing being.
Most enormous, largest, most omnipotent.
Yeah, ginormous. Cool. Our categories, here will be the order. I forgot to tell you this ahead of time because
That's
I never
all right.
do this, and it's really fun.
I can adapt.
Yeah. Spectacularity, originality, eye candy, actoring, legacy. Ooh, did he shuffle it around on you guys?
Interesting.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
All right.
Let's start it off with spectacularity, which is a category where we talk about the engagement level of the movie and whether you were bored and worried about runtime, or if you were super engaged and involved with the movie and at the edge of your seat in every moment. Let's start with E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial. Nick, what do you think about it in terms of spectacularity?
I thought it was I mean, like, E.T. is... Sorry, I have a little indigestion. Okay, E.T. is almost perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it is widely regarded as like a perfect movie, but to me, it's almost perfect. I didn't find it to be fully engaging because there's a really interesting like pacing. There's some interesting pacing choices, I think, in E.T. that I don't know if they like totally gel with me, so I gave it a 6 and not a 7.
Whoa.
But emotionally, it's
That is
obviously
criminal.
It's obviously very impactful. I just think you find out a lot about E.T. really, really fast.
True.
And then the rest of the movie, like, there are little lines where he's like, yeah, no, we have, like, a psychic bond. It's, like, chill, whatever. And it's just, like, they're just, like, a lot of stuff is, like, yeah, no, he can do this. And it's like, wait, what? We didn't see him do that. I don't know. So those little things take me out of it. And, like, I will talk about this as we go on, but this movie frightened the bejesus out of me as a child for some reason, so I hated it for years until I rewatched it 4 days ago. And now I really like it because I understand why it's so great. But, you know, that was in the back of my head the whole time I was watching it, so it kind of ruined the spectacularity for me. In a sense, I gave it a 6, not a 7.
I think
I could be
fair.
convinced.
That's still really well above average. Listen, I wasn't that excited about doing these episodes. I had always loved E.T. growing up. I didn't realize how amazing this movie is and how it holds up and how it just essentially is the magic of filmmaking and how Spielberg is like an absolute wizard. And I will admit this on here, I straight up cried while watching this movie yesterday. I don't know if quarantining has like gotten to me or if this movie is just absolutely beautiful, but I gave it a 7 because I was so fully engaged. I was texting Nick the whole time, just like in amazement of how good it was. I gotta say, one of the reasons probably for me crying was that John Williams is the absolute GOAT of making film scores.
Absolutely.
It is one of the best scores of all time, and I'm so happy that he won as the composer for it. It really got to me. I felt so invested in every scene. I think the story is very fascinating and nice and beautiful, and I think the kids are all really entertaining. Oh,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. What's up?
Doesn't John Williams insert a little bit of his Star Wars?
It sounds a little bit like Star Wars. It's like...
I think that I read that he inserts some of Yoda's theme into the score of E.T. when you see Yoda. Very, very briefly. It's like a little like number that's like embedded in the...
Oh, that's cool. It definitely felt like almost like an extension of his score for Star Wars, but I honestly, I think phenomenal. This is his best score of all time.
It's amazing.
I also think it's really funny, and I wasn't expecting it to be that funny. Everything with Drew Barrymore talking is so cute and funny. Dude, and when E.T. is just going around the house, when E.T. is just walking around the house, you know, causing a ruckus, burping, farting, and just learning, it is an amazing scene. And then he starts like affecting Elliot in school, and it's really fun. I think you could be scared of E.T. growing up until you see E.T. all dressed up by Gertie, and then it's like, he's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And he won't stop saying, E.T. phone home, and Elliot's like, shut up, E.T. I love everything in the Halloween sequence. I think the Halloween scenes are so fun to watch. Dude, and then the movie gets really terrifying, and not because of E.T., because of the government. The people, when the people walk in the spacesuits, and it just comes out of nowhere, the way that is like choreographed is so cool. And then the people are like marching on the horizon is like epic.
It's very like, it's almost horror movie-esque. I do have an issue with the E.T. gets a small child drunk from afar psychically scene. Yeah, it's very out of... No, not that part. Little kids can... Never mind.
Little kids can straight up slam booze, dude.
little kids can make connections with aliens, and then the alien gets drunk, and then the kid feels the effects of the alcohol. That's fine. And that's the part where where Elliot kisses the tall girl, and it's just like so... I don't know. It's like a little over the top for me.
It's a weird scene. Yeah, I agree with that. I do
apparently,
the
apparently the actor that
scene...
plays Elliot was like really nervous in that scene. It took like a really long time for them to get it too, which makes me just like, well, why'd you even do it?
I know. Yeah, like why did you force him to do that?
Just a little thing.
I get that. That's fair. I think you have to bring that in. I will say the ending bike scene, the bike chase is so epic, and I love it.
Yeah.
I honestly just don't see how there's anything not to like, besides like maybe little things. The movie is great, and it's less than 2 hours, and feel that, okay? Let's move on to
6
Super
and a 7?
8. Yeah, I gave it a 7, of course. Super 8, Spectacularity, what did you give it?
Okay. I changed this one a couple times. I ended up landing on a 4.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's a fun ride, but it bums me out that we don't see the monster enough. We only see it for 3 minutes.
You mean
total.
General Grievous?
Yeah, it does look like General Grievous.
It looks exactly
Didn't even
like
think
General
about that.
Yeah.
Great. That does add to the suspense, kind of, but I gave it an average score because it bothers the crap out of me that there's just this one scene that explains the whole mystery of the monster and basically the plot of the movie with exposition.
Are you
It's
talking
lame.
about the like documentary scene?
Yes,
essentially?
yeah, where small children discover documentary
You know
footage.
what's another movie that
inexplicably
does that?
made?
You know what's another movie that does that, and everyone just like passes over it and is like, "This movie's the best movie ever made." Logan. There's literally a scene in the movie Logan where it's like a perfectly edited documentary is in the middle of it that explains everything.
Yeah, that's a lazy thing for me,
I
and
totally
it
agree.
makes even less sense in this movie about the government tracking down an escaped alien that they have kept like enclosed until this moment, and then small children discover the footage and they make the link, and then they know that the being is probably subterranean because it says in the footage that it's a subterranean creature. I'm like, the military they made the documentary, or like I guess
They
it's
were
made by the
involved
guy
in the documentary.
and it's made by the guy that like, is removed and like now teaches biology at their high school. It's just like too much exposition and too far-fetched, and it just pulls me out of it to the point that I think it's just a preposterous plot because of that scene.
I think those are really like fair points. I mean, so I was hovering around a 4. I will say this. You can hook me into any movie if you start it in a factory with a board that says days without incident or whatever and change it to 1. That's automatically a super emotional thing. I'm going to get involved. It's a very random thing. I don't think
what
there's
happened?
anything. I don't know. They never really explain that.
It sounds gnarly.
Yeah, it's probably disturbing. I don't think that there's anything not to like about this movie. I think there are things that are bothersome, but I think it's a really enjoyable movie. I think the story is weird enough to stay engaged. I think all the kids are really good actors and really fun to watch. I also think this has a really underratedly amazing soundtrack, and even the score is really good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
I love the part when they're singing My Sharona. Apparently, JJ Abrams originally wanted them to just be talking before Alice shows up, and then they were singing offset or whatever My Sharona together, and he's like, "Okay, I got to put this in the movie," and I thought that was hilarious.
That song is low key fire emoji.
It's so good, dude. I love that song. I will tell you this. This is why the movie gets a 5 for me instead of a 4. In the second half of the movie, things just start ramping up very quickly, and I'm very engaged. Like the bus scene is absolutely terrifying, and then it's like out of nowhere, it's like vaguely a kid's movie. It's kind of like a young adolescent movie, and then some straight up gory horror shit happens on that bus, and then it leads to an absolute war in the suburbs, baby, and it goes 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, and then I didn't. It's very kind of subtle that you're like, why are they all shooting? And it's because the monster has like electromagnetic powers, I think, and it's like making everything go haywire and fire. So it's like this huge...
Things are just like exploding everywhere.
Yeah, chaotic battle scene. It's basically just the military malfunctioning.
Dude,
Again,
I also
you didn't know the monster had electromagnetic abilities?
Yeah,
you had him locked up. You studied him, bro.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, I want to say, I do think the movie is pretty funny too, kind of like E.T. I think everything with the guy who wants to get with Charles's sister that like develops a film for them is fucking hilarious. He's like, I could get back into disco.
Yeah.
And then he's listening to disco later. But I love the part when he's like, just so you guys know, I am massively stoned right now. And then he's like asleep and they're trying to wake him up. And Martin's like, oh my God, drugs are so bad.
Yeah.
I was dying of laughter in that. So I don't like how the movie's all resolved. I think the ending is really fucking stupid, but I am very engaged until then. So I think it's like slightly above average for me.
Okay, it's fair enough.
5 and a 4 for that. Let's move on to our next category, originality. Originality is where we talk about how creative the movie is, whether it needed to be made, whether it stands out in its genre. I was going to start with Super 8, but I kind of want to start with E.T. because E.T. is the thing that inspired Super 8.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about E.T.? What did you think about its originality?
Our score, if anyone is keeping track, is 13-11 E.T. I'm going to try and keep score
that's
as
pretty
we go
cool.
this time. We're starting with E.T., yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Oh, we
right.
switched the order.
So
up. We're doing
E.T. originality.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. I messed that up for you. I should have told you.
I started looking at the wrong things, and then I was trying to do math. Everything's just really hard, dude. It's fine.
Yeah. Hey,
E.T.,
man, you're smart.
Dude, E.T., I am. I'm the youngest, smartest man that's ever lived.
That's true.
I'm almost 30. So sad.
I
E.T.
know,
is the OG.
You're pathetic.
It's one of the... I get it that it's one of the best movies of all time. I hate that I hated it when I was a kid. I'm really sorry. I've already...
It's okay.
I've already absolved my sins.
The Guild of ET lovers welcomes you with open arms. Okay,
Thank you.
We forgive you.
It was just gross and nasty to me as a kid, and I really hated the alien, and I can't really tell you why. I just know I missed out. It's obviously a 7.
Yeah. Okay. Originality speaking, this is one of the most original movies ever made. Mm-hmm. It is. There had been alien movies before, for sure. But think about how many movies are based off of this movie because of how original it is. It was based on an imaginary friend that Steven Spielberg had after his parents got divorced in the 60s, which is incredibly sad, but also...
Sad. Tiniest violin in the world playing right here.
But also it's like Steven Spielberg is straight up I could see it. And I could vaguely hear it. He's a fucking wizard. It's not based on anything. This movie's not based on any like previous material. He just came up with this amazing story that weaves with like all these different characters.
He partly wrote it while on set for another movie too, right?
Yeah.
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 It's wild.
Dude,
it's wild.
It's the spiritual autobiography of Steven Spielberg's like early childhood. And I fucking love that. And it's so emotional. It's considered one of the greatest movies of all time. It's like AFI Top 100. It's very high up there. I got to point out this, if we're going to talk about things that are creative about it, with so many movies having monsters that are so similar in their CGI design and stupid, like the Super 8 monster and like Cloverfield monster and like the Quiet Place monsters, I just love how unique and gross but lovable E.T. is. Yeah. I think it's a really cool looking alien, and it's a fucking hilarious idea.
Not been done like that before, even though he sounds like a water balloon full of hot diarrhea when he walks.
Dude, his face was molded after a poet named Carl Sandburg, Albert Einstein, and a pug dog. Give it a 7 for that. That is so
That's
amazing.
all you need.
Dude, and we'll talk about later the how the voice was created, because it's one of the funniest
It is
things.
nice. I will say, you made a great point. It is nice to go back to a time when not all of the monsters looked like some hideous combination
beefed up like CGI
like, beefed up like spiders mixed with the face of General Grievous and Darth Vader.
Fat. He's also like this. E.T. brings no harm to you and is also telekinetic and empathetic, telekinempathetic or something. Empathic. Yeah, that's it. Dude, I just love that. I think the fact that they have him connecting with Elliot is such a fascinating and original idea, and I think it really works for this movie. It's a 7.
It's beautiful in a way. So, I mean, that's 2 7s. What about Super 8?
Okay, I'm hovering between a 3 and a 4 right now.
Okay.
So slightly below average or average. I think that it is a cool mix of a lot of different movies. It's like E.T. meets Cloverfield and Stranger Things and It before we had Stranger Things and It. Well, at least It, the movie. We had the book.
Well, we know we had the original It.
That's true, and that sucked. Okay, so I won't say It, but before we had Stranger Things. And I do think Super 8 was like a lot more like Stranger Things than E.T.
It's just like scary murder E.T. and with explosions.
Yeah. I will say kids on bikes movies are just low-key essential to society. We need to protect them at all costs. If we were going to start like burning, if we had an archive of movies and we were moving on, like we were in like Hitler's world or whatever, and we started like burning art, dude, please fucking protect kids on bikes movies.
Kids on bikes.
I do think
what would
that
the world
movie...
be without kids on bikes?
Kids... I do think the
Hashtag
movie
save
is
the
kind
kids
of
on
like a
bikes.
creative take on what we'd seen before. So I do really respect that. I don't think that
I gave it a 4 because I think it is creative. Like,
I think I might
agree.
move to that. I love this. It's nerdy kids making film while simultaneously this fucking crazy sci-fi thing starts happening in the background of their film.
I do love that part of it, that it is about these little kids that just want to be, just want to make a rad zombie flick, dude.
Yeah. Do you know the story of like why JJ Abrams is like close with Spielberg?
No.
So
do you want to tell it now?
So I mean, yeah. I mean, you could tell that this movie was just about it's like a nerdy movie director, JJ Abrams, who grew up watching Spielberg movies and wanted to make his own. And I really admire that. I actually don't I wouldn't punish him for that, even if it's really derivative. But I found this note, so I said, whoa. As teenagers, JJ Abrams and Matt Reeves, the guy who made Cloverfield and the Planet of the Apes movies, the new ones, and who's doing the Batman, they were hired as teenagers by Spielberg to restore his old Super 8 home movies. And because they were like big nerds who loved Super 8 stuff. And a lot of Super 8 is kind of based off of JJ Abrams' life to a certain degree. I mean, I think a lot of it is kind of like crazy, but it's the main character, Joe, is supposed to be a lot like him. Or maybe Charles. I don't know. But I just love that. And I love that it's awesome to see Spielberg's influence on multiple directors who are making big names for themselves. I mean, JJ Abrams and Matt Reeves are two of like the most sought after sci-fi / like action movie directors around right now. And I think that's awesome. I do think that they wrote themselves into a wall with that ending, though. The ending is preposterously stupid. I hate it so much.
Tell me more about that. Why? I didn't think it was that stupid.
Okay, straight up, the alien is eating people in that cave, picks up people, chucks them across the cave to their death. And
your boy's got a snack.
And then Joe just goes, I get you, okay? It's me and you here. We care. We want you to be free. And then the alien figures out how to be free and escapes, and everyone is watching the alien leave and crying tears of joy. It's like, dude, a lot of people died. Your town is absolutely devastated and destroyed. It's like a tiny town.
There's also a massive government-started brush fire ravaging the hillside.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. I think the end is really dumb, and I don't respect it.
Okay, you're right.
But I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to move up to a 4.
You're going to give it a 4? So we've got, that's 14 to 8 in that category.
Cool.
Which, brings us to what, 27 to 19 so
wow,
far?
You are so impressive with your math.
I have so much, dude, I had a good amount of B vitamins before this.
Oh, man, your brain is just operating on levels
basically
hitherto undreamt of.
I'm basically that galaxy
I've been trying
brain.
to use hitherto undreamt of in any sentence possible since seeing Avengers.
Unfathomable cosmic power, itty bitty living space.
Nick, let's move on to eye candy, and you could start this off. Let's start with Super 8. Eye candy is where we just talk about the visual elements of the movies.
Okay, I'm gonna get controversial.
Okay.
I gave it a 6.
No, that's not controversial.
It will be soon. Super 8 is full of lens flares that look stupid sometimes, but I'm okay with it because the monster looks good and it's believable and scary looking and kind of human-like in enough ways for me to be like, oh yeah, I see why people hated that, but it's probably a nice guy. The explosions are really over the top, but it really works and it's intentional, and it feels like an 80s movie in that regard, that it's like purposefully over the top, like the train derailment, like crash sequence. Abrams intentionally made it way over the top to be reminiscent of like 80s action movies.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It's got the stranger.
Hey, dude, if he's making a passion project, he should have as much fun as possible doing it.
Yeah, it's got this like Stranger Things vibe to it that just works before Stranger Things worked. And man, does Stranger Things work usually.
Yeah. I respect that. I mean, I'm pretty picky when it comes to eye candy because I care a lot about like cinematography and how the effects look. And I'm going to give it a 5, slightly above average. I think I really like the way the movie is shot. I like how the camera moves. I think there are some cool shots that kind of focus in on the characters and you could really empathize with the characters. And I think that's actually a very difficult thing to do that both cinematographers do really well. I also think it's really cool that it's like a cool juxtaposition of having like a digitally enhanced movie while these kids are making Super 8 films. Like the kids that grew up making Super 8 films later would make these big budget movies. And I think that works really well. There's something called blocking that I've recently learned about. So Akira Kurosawa is like really well known for doing this. Blocking is basically how the characters move within the frame. And so sometimes like Akira Kurosawa makes it really narrow where there's like 5 characters on frame, but he makes certain characters move so that your eye will look at it. He's like manipulating your eye based on character movement within a very small frame. And JJ Abrams does it really well when the train starts crashing and it's showing them on the hillside watching it. And I think that it's really impressive, or whoever the cinematographer is. I fucking his lens flares are like out of control in this movie.
They are so over the top.
And if anyone doesn't know what a lens flare is, just watch Super 8 and you will know. Anytime, or watch Star Trek.
Just watch the scene right before the train crashes.
Yeah.
It is the most absurd. Like there are literally like 2 or 3 big blue streaks just across the screen.
It's so obnoxious.
And you're like, is my TV broken? Or no,
dude, it looks
Abrams.
so weird. I did you notice this? He does this in Star Trek also. I really like the way that he shows the characters during action scenes. It's like the camera goes below them and diagonally, and so they look diagonal on the screen, and they look like, because they're so big, because it's coming from below them, you can really tell their emotions. That's awesome, and it's something I really like that JJ Abrams does. So I really, and I think it's like half practical Spielberg effects and production design and half CGI, and I respect that. But the alien, I think the alien looks really dumb. I don't even know who the fuck comes up with these kind of aliens. Like, how do you even what is your thought process of like, oh, that's what he's going to look like? I don't know.
I've always, I think that the monster is fine looking. I understand that it looks like other monsters, aliens, whatever. But I think he's cool looking.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I think it's interesting that it like has, like, it builds things. It's like,
yeah, okay. No, I like the design, the ideas about the ship and everything.
It's personified in a way that other monsters aren't really personified typically. They're typically just like smash and grab type of, movie monsters. And this is like the same kind of smash and grab movie monster, but also, he's sophisticated and capable of making, electromagnetic disruptor.
Yeah, I think some of that goes into like originality for me
like
instead of eye candy.
Because I am.
Yeah. No, I get it. Well, okay, let's talk about E.T.
Yeah. I gave it a 5.
Okay, let me school you on this.
All right, rip me apart.
No, I'm not going to rip you apart. I was thinking it would have been a 5. This movie is one of the most impressive visual movies I've ever seen, and I am so shocked by that. I legitimately thought it was going to be slightly above average and it was going to age poorly. I gave it a 7. The set designs are like unbelievable. They're some of the most I can remember every single way that every scene looks, the way the forest looks, the way it looks when the aliens show up, the inside of their ship, the suburbs, the inside of the house. Dude, the budget for this movie was $10 million. To be able to balance that amount of cast members, extras, practical effects, and production design is fucking unbelievable for $10 million. He's the absolute master of budgets. You know this from Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, stuff like that. Spielberg is a genius. Also, beloved cinematographer Alan Daviau, who just passed away from coronavirus last week, which is like absolutely sad. He was in his 70s, and he's a legend.
That's really sad.
He was nominated for this, and I really respect that. He just makes you feel like you're in an interactive theme park ride. And I'll talk about it later because the ride itself is so fucking fun for E.T.
Did you give it a 7?
I gave it a 7. Dude, here's one thing that I love. Almost every part of the movie is shot at eye level so that you are empathetic to the kids in E.T. And that is brilliant cinematography.
Okay, fine. I gave it a 6. You're right.
Dude, the misty backyard at the beginning. So there's a joke that Alan Daviau is like, there's a battle between James Cameron and Steven Spielberg of who's going to use more smoke and mist in their movies. I fucking love how they do the backyard at the beginning. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm going to move it up to a 6 because of what I talk about in Legacy. So I just wasn't connecting those. E.T., I guess I'll talk about this here. I don't know what it was about him as a kid that freaked me so far out.
It looks like a Tootsie Roll.
So freaked out as a kid by this stupid little squishy monster, and I don't really know why. I think maybe it's how disgusting he looks when he's like sick and he's starting to like wrinkle up like a white dog turd.
He does look like a white dog turd.
It looks like a white dog turd.
I got a belly full of white dog turd shit, and now you laid this shit on me?
I also like, obviously this is called eye candy, not like ear chocolate, but it's the sound that it makes is disgusting. Dude, they made the sound by like filling up bags with sand and jello and just being like...
Dude, they used like 50 things to make the sound of his voice. It's so fucking funny.
Why does the way that he walks sound like he has squishy poopies in his diaper? He doesn't have a diaper. Why does it sound like that, dude?
He's like a slippery little Tootsie Roll, baby.
That's just... Like, why does it sound like...
I think he looks delicious.
Why does it sound like bags of diarrhea, dude? I don't understand.
I get you.
Is he covered in poop?
Dude,
he covered in poop?
No. Did you think any of it aged poorly visually?
No.
Honestly, if anything, it aged in a way that makes you just feel nostalgic. And I love that.
I think maybe it was his hands that freaked me out as a kid.
Dude. Oh, I got to bring it up again. The shot of the horizon and the scientists marching on the horizon is so epic. It's like, I guarantee you when they made Armageddon, they were just copying that
I was just about to say, it looks like the scene in Armageddon. Yeah.
Do you know that most of the high school or the school scenes were filmed at Culver City High School?
Really?
Right down the street, baby.
All right. So your Super 8 was a 5. Mine was a 6. That's an 11 in this category.
You're giving Super 8 the same as E.T., an absolute classic visually.
I'm not done, and I'm actually going to go ahead and put E.T. at a 7 at this point.
Oh, I just bullied you up from a 5 to a 7. I love it, dude.
Yeah, you're right.
This is why we have a podcast, and I'm really happy about it. Sometimes you flipped one of mine I moved up earlier because of you.
I have, I think, right?
No, I think you've moved mine more than I've moved yours.
Okay, so we're at 41 to 30.
We're talking penises, by the way.
Where we have moved our penises.
All right, let's talk about our next category. Let's talk about acting.
All right, sounds good, penis breath.
Acting is where we talk about the performances and whether the actors did really well and if the directors and writers gave them the tools that they needed to act really well. So let's start with E.T.
E.T. Okay.
E.T. Phone Home.
I think that the child actors in E.T. are really good. I think they're better than the Super 8 child actors slightly, but the adults have less to do.
Yeah.
Like, Elliot's mom is believable, sort of. But, like, so there's a couple things in the 80s that we need to highlight here. Kids on bikes, didn't realize that. Kids on bikes, save the kids on bikes.
So essential. Please protect those movies at all costs.
This episode of Facing Off is
brought to you by Bikes. Go to kidsonbikes.com/facingoff to enter in promo code facingoff.
But also this episode is brought to you by Clueless Moms from the 80s, because Clueless Moms from the 80s are so incredibly 80s.
Yeah.
None of the moms in the 1980s could have peripheral vision or infer information or focus on details or see clearly. They're all idiots. Clueless Moms from the 80s. The mom in the E.T. is so clueless, dude. She's an idiot. She just doesn't see him. But she's good at being a clueless 80s mom.
Yeah.
So, like, I gave it a 6 because I don't think there's anyone that's bad in the movie. But, I mean, there's kid actors. There's some lines that are like, okay, that's not how you'd say that.
That's true. So if you're keeping track so far, E.T. had a perfect score for me. I am also going to give it a 6, as I did with Back to the Future, and I think it's only fair with something that is slightly campy to a certain degree to knock down the acting a little bit, especially for me and you who are so picky about acting, and you especially for like child actors, and I fucking hate child actors. I get very mad about them, but I mean, this is probably the best child acting movie of all time. Like, I don't even, because of the amount of them. Henry Thomas and Drew Barrymore are absolutely, like, classic, great child actors. I think Henry Thomas, because we've nominated, like, Jacob Tremblay and Quvenzhané Wallis or whatever, I think Henry Thomas should have been nominated for sure for this.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Well, no, he would have been in the lead actor category, so maybe not. But he'd be close. Dude, did you hear about Drew Barrymore kept forgetting her lines one day and Steven Spielberg yelled at her? And because he just got really frustrated, they had to keep doing it, and he had a small budget. And then he found out later that she had a high fever. And then he just like apologized over and over and over again to her as she was like crying. And then he hugged her and he sent her home with like a director's note that she was like done for the day and the next day. And that's super cute. And I also love when Drew Barrymore goes, "Is he a pig? He sure eats like one." I loved it.
She ad-libs a line in this movie that's like a classic line. It's escaping me right now.
She does?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's true. And it's super funny. I also think the older kids are great. They're cooler versions than the Stranger Things.
Oh, what is the line? Oh, I should have written it down.
I think the older kids are cooler than Stranger Things, It, and Super 8, who are all inspired by that.
Oh,
because it
like
was actually
the
inspired
homies?
by this. What?
The bike gang?
Yeah, bike gang. Dude, the part when Greg, the character Greg, is like, or Elliot's like, zero charisma, and he's like, sinus supremus, zero charisma, sinus supremus. I love it. There's a funny part at the end when they're like, how do we get E.T. there? And then Greg is like, can't we just beam him up? And Elliot goes, this is reality, Greg. So, dude, I also forgot that C. Thomas Howell is in the movie, the kid who's like Pony Boy in The Outsiders, the year after. I think Dee Wallace is amazing. She's very famous for horror movies. The woman who plays the mom. Is she possibly the best bedtime storyteller of all time?
Maybe.
I wanted her to read stories to me. That was incredible.
She's really bad at noticing when things are moving in her kitchen, though.
Yeah, that's true. I will say, I don't think the guy who plays Keys is that good, Peter Coyote. I think it's fine.
I don't think so either.
He's like a little over the top. But here's the thing. I'm not blown away by the acting except for Henry Thomas. And 90% of the movie is child acting and a puppet. So I'm not going to give it a 7.
No, same.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to give Super 8 a 5.
Samesies.
Because like it's above average, but no one's like standing out. But I do think it's impressive that pretty much everyone in the movie is a nobody except for Kyle Chandler, Elle Fanning, and one of the two fat idiots from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Everyone else,
who's that?
What's his Charles's dad?
Oh, yeah, I like that guy, actually.
Yeah, he's great in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, too. He plays just the big, fat, dumb idiot with a flat top. It's great.
That's good.
I just think it's impressive that they accomplished that, like, this movie with a bunch of, like, nobodies. They're just, like, kids that they found that, like, almost universally, none of them did anything afterwards besides a couple little random things.
I'm shocked that Charles, the kid who played Charles, didn't, like, amount to anything.
I know, me
He's
too.
amazing.
I was like, this kid's not in anything, but he's not in anything. The only people that are Elle Fanning, Kyle Chandler, and the fat idiot from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Elle Fanning's dad is only okay, too. I actually had an issue with him.
Yeah, he's
as
just
an actor.
too pretty.
He's not. He's like a former fighter or like a boxer or something.
He's too pretty to be playing that role. His eyes are. Have you looked in his eyes? It was like the first time I heard the Beatles.
I just don't. I didn't believe him as that character. He wasn't like.
I'm with you.
I don't know. I had an issue with him, so that's why it's not like a 6, because I do think that he's not good. But I give it a 5.
I gave it a 5 as well. I do think like Stranger Things and It, which I've mentioned way too many times in this podcast, for a podcast that's not about either of those.
You have.
I think that the kids are really funny because they're nerdy and crass, and I love that. Like, especially all the interactions between the kid with braces, Carrie, and then Martin, the tall, like, bumbling idiot, like, pussy one. Are fucking hilarious. He's just always messing with him.
He's one of the only ones that's actually, only actors that's actually in other stuff after this.
Yeah, the kid who plays Carrie?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and he looks nothing like he did in this. He's got like brown hair. Dude, Charles is so funny in the movie when he's like, production value! And
Dude,
there's
he's
like
amazing.
spittle coming out. I love when he goes, that was mint! That was mint!
Mint. Yes.
Dude, Elle Fanning is like ridiculously good at acting from an early age. And it's crazy how
she's
deep
like-
her voice is.
She's so much younger than almost everyone else in the movie.
She showed up in this movie and straight up yammed on Dakota Fanning's entire career. Dakota Fanning's also in the movie at one moment.
She is. She's in a really. She almost is like a cameo. Yeah.
Besides,
Did you give it a 5?
Yeah, besides the dad of Elle Fanning's character, I do love all the adult actors. I also, Noah Emmerich is in this, and he's really good in The Americans. He's not great in it. I think Kyle Chandler is really, really good. And I
His
think the
death scene
scene
is great, though.
What? Oh, yeah.
Noah Emmerich's death scene where he gets.
Yeah,
he's
where
like
he's,
trying to
stuck
fight
in
him
there.
off, and he just keeps getting pushed further back into the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually like trying to help the kids, too.
Yeah.
I thought he was trying to screw them over.
Yeah,
but,
that scene's really good.
dude, the
honestly.
scene, there is one really good acting scene, and it's between Joe and his dad. And apparently Joe, the actor who played Joe, is like really, really introverted and quiet and doesn't like yelling, and they forced him to yell. And so he actually got emotional in that scene because he's like not used to yelling. And it's really good. That kid is actually a pretty good actor.
Yeah, definitely.
So I give it a 5, slightly above average. Nothing to complain about. Let's do Legacy. Let's start with Super 8.
And going into our last category, we have a score of 53 to 40.
Ooh,
So.
good for Super 8, damn. So Legacy is where we talk about how this movie will be talked about in the history of movies and whether it's something that you think about a lot afterwards and how will it age and stuff like that. We can start with Super 8. I'm going to give it an average. I think it made a lot of money.
Yeah, it did.
It made $260 million off of a $50 million budget, which is surprising. It was a classic summer movie. Like, it was expertly released in June, and like this is like a good movie, a hot summer day, especially when you're in high school or something and you go and like watch this. It got good reviews, 81% certified fresh, 75 Metacritic. A decent reviews by audience. It's just a really easy movie to enjoy, but it's not gonna like age in a way where people are like, this is a classic that I need to watch. I love this so much.
I mean, I could give it a 4, but I'm giving it a 3 because despite everything you said, I think it's largely a forgettable movie.
Yeah, I even looked up something, and it was like movies like Super 8, and the first thing was like a Quora question that someone asked or whatever, and everyone's like, wow, that movie was so fucking forgettable.
Yeah, I just think that it's a really forgettable movie, and like that, I mean, that's Legacy to me. I know that like it is a good movie and it's fun, but and generally well regarded, but I just don't think it's anything that anyone talks about, so I gave it a 3.
Okay. I am not disagreeing with you. I did think that it kind of had an impact when it first came out, and I do remember liking it, but I don't think anyone was pumped that we were doing Super 8 for this podcast.
No,
but no
I
one
just
would
think
be
that
mad. They're like, "Oh, fuck that movie." It's like it's an okay movie to rewatch.
I just think that it's funny that it matches up with E.T. because there are like little parts of them that are so similar, like that the alien has a psychic connection.
It's basically just that
with a small
JJ Abrams
child.
was so inspired by E.T. and just wanted to make his own version of it.
Yeah.
Well, he had two different
but
stories.
he was like, but I really want to do some explosions.
I know, dude. Good for him. He's a huge director now. Love him or hate him. Let's talk about E.T. This one's easy, and if there's anything lower than a 7, you just don't understand what E.T. is.
Yeah, it's obviously. I mean, it has to be like
it's
hardcore 7.
One of the most iconic movies. It's one of the most iconic scores. If you heard the score, you'd be like, "Yep, that's E.T." And that has to. It won Best Score, and it won 4 other Oscars, mostly for its sound. So even though you hated the sounds of E.T., it literally won awards for that, for the way that they set up the sound.
Like gross.
This movie was nominated for 9 Oscars, including Best Picture, and it's a movie about a kid and an alien. That's awesome. And I was so this is what I was going to talk about. My mom wanted me to mention this. So she was like, "Do you remember that we went on the E.T. ride at Universal Studios when I was a kid, and we went on it like 5 times because the first time I was so scared because things kind of like pop out."
Yeah.
But I also like my mom gets a little bit motion sick. And I, as a kid, was so scared of going on roller coasters. So she liked that, so we could go on all these kind of rides. But she took me on it multiple times because I was so scared the first time. I do remember being really scared by the government people in the trees and stuff. I don't fuck the government, okay? But I loved it, dude. This is the most classic Kids on Bikes movies. This episode is brought to you by Kids on Bikes. I mean, it is though. It's also the most classic corrupt government investigating harmless aliens movie. And
yeah, it just has so many scenes that other things pay homage to.
Dude, even like I was thinking about how many movies do this. The Goonies, It, Stranger Things, Super 8, 3 Ninjas. There was another one I saw recently that wasn't that good. Summer or something. Dude,
there's so many.
It made $793 million in the 80s on a $10 million budget. It was like, it beat out Star Wars as the highest grossing film ever until Spielberg just yammed on everyone again with Jurassic Park.
Yammed again with Titanic.
You know what is crazy? It has the longest runtime in theaters. It was in theaters for over a year. And if you don't understand how crazy that is, you don't know how movies stay in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, inarguably the most iconic scene in the movie is literally one of the most recognized logos of all time.
Yeah, the Amblin Entertainment one.
Yeah.
Where they're in front of the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's a beautiful scene. Also, 98% from critics. I really question which critic didn't like it, and I want to shoot him in his stupid fucking face.
And another scene... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say 7.8 by IMDb audience score.
Yeah.
Fuck all of you.
Yeah, I didn't
just
get
watched
that
The
either.
Gentleman, which I loved. I thought it was great. Not a good movie. I thought it was great in terms of entertainment. Not a good movie necessarily. That has an 8. Fuck everyone on IMDb.
But is it one of those things where like so many like negative reviews appear over time that it drags the positive ones down?
Probably. It
Because
also
like
has
who
been
goes on
reviewed more than
IMDb and is
anything.
like ET is like so good. Like nobody does that.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's
maybe they critique it over time.
You know, it's it's decades old. Another scene that we haven't mentioned yet that is also iconic, dreamt up by my boy Rob Zemeckis.
Yeah, dude.
Is the stuffed animal scene where E.T.'s hiding amongst the stuffed animals. That's like such an iconic scene. And I was like, this is where that comes from. That's right.
Literally in It's Always Sunny, in my favorite episode of It's Always Sunny when the gang gets trapped, Frank does that in the,
it's
in the closet with the whip.
If I could give it an 8 instead of a 7, I would do so. But
I'd give it a fucking 10. It aged so well. I love this movie.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Dude, I'm honestly... This might be one of my favorite. I didn't even think about this. I haven't watched E.T. in like 15 years. This might be one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I'm in awe of Steven Spielberg. So let's add it up. I gave E.T. a 34 out of 35. Same as Back to the Future.
And
I mean, both those
I gave it a
movies are-
33, so it ends up with 67, just 3 points off of a perfect score.
That's awesome.
And our other
Super
horse
8, I
in the
gave
race,
a 23.
Super 8. Yeah, it ends up with a 47
out of 70? Not
out
bad.
of 70. No, not
Yeah,
bad.
Super
We
8's
almost
a cool
gave it the
movie.
exact same score. We were one point off.
Nice. Well, E.T. is the winner. Let us go into our accolades
very
section,
clearly
baby.
the winner. Yeah, it is
so
kind of funny
accolades.
to
Let's
see
give
that
out some
this one is-
awards,
I don't
baby.
know.
What?
This was a fun episode.
It was.
It's I don't know. I liked the match. I liked the pairing of these two movies. I just think it's a funny
I was
juxtaposition.
not excited to watch these, and then I fucking watched E.T. and cried. So I'm so
Neither
happy
were
we're
we.
doing this.
This was one of the ones I had the hardest time getting Julie to watch with me. She was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Did she end up liking it?
She told her sister, and her sister was like, "Why are you watching E.T. That old shit? What are you
Dude,
doing that for?" And we were
honestly,
like, it's a whole thing. We got.
I want to
Nick's got
force
to do a thing.
everyone that's in quarantine to watch E.T. right now. I think it's like it needs to be rewatched. It's so goddamn good.
Yeah, it's true. We could all use some kids on bikes in our lives.
Did you
All-Star
give an
team?
MVP? Who do you think won these movies?
Our MVP for today is Kids on Bikes. This podcast is brought to you by Kids on Bikes. Go to kidsonbikes.com and enter promo code facing off to receive $10 off your next kid on a bike.
Yeah, it's a tie between Kids on Bikes and Spielberg. I mean, Spielberg is like
Spielberg, yeah.
I
mean, yeah.
sometimes I want these awards to be funnier, but really, Steven Spielberg's legacy is insane. He also grew up like really close to where I grew up in Saratoga.
Really? I wrote. I actually my original MVP was just aliens. We can be nice.
Yeah,
And that's all I wrote.
true. Let's not fucking treat them
Aliens.
less so. All right,
They
LVP.
can be nice too.
I have a very specific one, so give yours first.
Oh, mine was just the government/military for so many reasons.
Yeah.
First and foremost being,
Pieces
how
of
did you
shit.
not know
Oh.
that the monster in Super 8 was underground? They say that it's a subterranean monster, and then there's a line where one of the children, not military scientists, go, subterranean.
Oh yeah,
Like, dude, it's underground, man.
I know.
Your boy lives underground.
Yeah.
Check underground.
Sub the
Also,
terror,
they're
dude.
so terrifying in ET, but they also save ET's life. So, I don't know. The government/military.
Well, that's true, and it's like it's kind of a cool scene because they seem horrible. Well, they kind of cause ET to be like to fucking die initially, and
It's
then
true.
even though he's already sick, but
Their
anyways,
intentions were good.
I have a very specific LVP. It's in Super 8. It's the second in command guy in the Air Force who snatches Joe's locket like a little fucking bitch and puts it in his pocket. And then he's
yeah.
told, even though he's second in command, Noah Emmerich tells him to go tag the monster. And then the monster straight up just fucking kills him immediately. And that guy's a bitch. He gets killed in like seconds. He's second in command and he's told to go tag the monster like a little private bitch.
I did as soon as that scene where he takes the locket, I turned to Julie and I was like, why did he take the locket?
He's just
What does he need that
he's just
for?
an asshole, dude. I hate that
doesn't-
guy.
Literally, you're right. It's just to be a dick.
Yeah. So he's
okay.
the LVP, and same with the military and their bullshit experiments in
Okay.
movies. All right, comeback player of the year.
E.T. Because I hated him when I was a kid. Now I don't hate him.
Fair.
He's not that gross. He just sounds like wet diarrhea walking.
So yeah, when we do comeback player of the year, we either do like performance that grows on you over time or performance that grows on you over the movie. I'm going to put the stoner guy who develops film in Super 8 because he goes from being this
does.
random side character to actually being one of the people that like helps the kids at the end. And he's so
and he
funny.
ends up lending so much comedic like relief in the
If you
last
took him
few
out of the
minutes
movie, yeah, there would be no humor in the last bit.
That's so funny. That's so true.
Yes.
Great pick.
Okay, Six Man is the award for the person who did the most with the least. Wow, I did that right this time.
That was perfect. Is
I-
it
I
Drew
have
Barrymore?
a specific one. No,
Oh, you
yeah, I
do.
mean it is Drew
Mine
Barrymore.
is Drew Barrymore.
She
obviously
has
her.
a lot of screen time though. And
Yeah,
she's
but I
second
feel like
billed.
she does the most with the least for me.
Fair. I mean, she's so young in that movie, and it's like probably one of the cutest child acting performances ever. It's not even
It's-
bothersome.
So great. Yeah.
I put Greg, who's a random one of the kids, the older kids in E.T., who does the Sidus Supremus. and then the thing at the end. I think that kid is so fucking funny. I also might want to give it to the dog in E.T. that randomly becomes a big character at the very end.
That's so true.
Because he like helps E.T. go up onto the spaceship or whatever.
Wow.
Dude,
that's a good one.
All right. What's your all-star team? Pick 5 performances from both of these movies that you would pair against any other performances.
Okay. Elliot, E.T., Drew Barrymore, Joe, and Elle Fanning.
You put Joe over Charles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
All right.
Charles is cool, but I think Joe's an awesome character. Honestly.
Yeah, he is. I think and it's done really well.
I
put Henry Thomas as Elliot, Drew Barrymore, Dee Wallace as the mom in E.T. I think she's incredible in it. Kyle Chandler, because I just love Kyle Chandler. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
And then Riley Griffith, who's the kid who played Charles.
See, now neither of us put in the 90-plus-year-old woman who smokes multiple cigarettes per day that they used to do the voice for E.T. And she's kind of like, I couldn't tell in reading the trivia if they like mistreated her by not like giving her as much credit for being the voice of E.T. as she should have received.
Nah, I mean, who cares?
But it's just so funny that to like listen to E.T. and be like, that is the most gnarly old woman saying that.
Dude, it's hilarious.
There's just this lady that's 90 years old smoking multiple packs of cigarettes a day, and they're like, you got 4 hours. We need you to say Elliot.
Dude,
in the weirdest way a bunch of times in a row, and she was just like, idiot.
She's like the MVP who doesn't even know she's MVP.
It's amazing. I think that is phenomenal.
Okay, do you have an Infant Troopin' award for dumbest moment in either?
I
of these
just
movies?
don't like the scene where Elliot kisses the tall girl. I just think it's
fair.
silly.
Mine is Joe. Mine is probably Joe Lamb talking down the alien just as it ate people and threw them across a cave to their deaths.
Your boy's got a snack, dude.
Okay, do you have a best moment? Do you have like a favorite moment?
I mean, I'm trying to think. For this one, I was trying to think of like the moment that I was like, okay, E.T.'s not so bad. And I don't know. I don't know what that moment was, but there's something about the first third of E.T., the movie, not the alien itself.
Yeah, where were you? Were you starting from the head or the feet?
Yeah, not the alien, the movie. Something in the first third of that movie like clicked for me, and I was just like, all right, yeah, he's disgusting, but this is an excellent movie. So I don't know, I can't pinpoint it, but the entirety of E.T.
Okay,
it's an amazing movie.
I love the moment when the scientists take over the house. I think it's just really, as I said, I think it's like choreography. I think it's like really well mapped out. The bike chase scene is fucking epic. It's so cool. It's like, dude, they're like flying off the mountain and stuff, and then later they're like literally flying in the air, and it's beautiful. Or when E.T. gets dressed up in the funniest way and learns how to talk.
Oh God!
Yeah, it's so cute. Anyways, do you have any recommendations of movies that you think people should watch based on these?
Not specifically based on these. However, I mean, I guess Cloverfield was like I wrote.
I think Cloverfield
down.
and 10 Cloverfield Lane. Dude,
yeah, don't watch the third one. But 10 Cloverfield Lane is.
I remember
10 Cloverfield Lane especially is so good. But I hate that people hate Cloverfield. I really liked that movie.
Me too. I never got it. You know, the other day, Alec, my roommate, he was like, well, not the other day because he hasn't been living here for like a month, but I've been alone. But recently I was talking to him and he's like, I've never seen 10 Cloverfield Lane. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? It's so good. John Goodman is so good. He's like, I saw the trailer and I thought it looked like garbage. And I was like, that's one of the best trailers I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't
Where they're
understand
playing
that.
the board game and you don't know what the movie's about. Dude,
yeah,
10 Cloverfield Lane is like, I'm not sugarcoating this. It's like an 8 or 9 out of 10 movie for me. I think it's fucking amazing. It's
so
like a
great.
really good thriller, and it has one of the coolest lead performances by Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah. That was my rec, is the Cloverfield movies.
I put those. Yeah, because they were JJ Abrams and Matt Reeves made those movies.
Yeah. The stylings of Super 8, it's JJ Abrams. It made me think of Cloverfield.
Yeah. I also put Paul, which is a hilarious movie with Simon Pegg and Seth Rogen and stuff, where an alien shows up and it's played by Seth Rogen. I thought it was an Edgar Wright movie. It might be I know it is an Edgar Wright movie. It's just not part of the Cornetto trilogy. Or maybe it's not Edgar, he produced it or something. It's really funny. It's super dumb, but it's really funny. I love any of those dumb alien movies. Like Mars Attacks is amazing. Okay, you can follow us on social media. Oh, actually, next week, Nick. Next week, we are doing, and we're so fucking pumped for this, and all of you guys who don't like this movie or who haven't seen it, go and do it. Parasite versus Snowpiercer, which is going to be really fun, because our opinions may change drastically from the first time we saw Snowpiercer. So both of those movies, I think Snowpiercer's on Netflix, Parasite is on Hulu, and the rest of Bong Joon-ho's early movies are actually on Hulu right now. So go check those out, including
I am so excited.
The Host, which is a monster
I am
one.
so excited.
You can follow us on social media, Instagram.com/facingoffpod. I actually have been putting out movie recommendations during your quarantine period, so go check that out if you're not already following us, and check out the story highlights for that. We're also on Twitter, twitter.com/facingoffpod. And you could send us an email, facingoffpodcast@gmail.com. If you're a university out there and you want us to plug you, like Southern New Hampshire University.
You want us to plug you?
If you want us to plug you, we can plug you so good, universities. Send us an email, facingoffpodcast@gmail.com. Nick, do you have a send-off?
You are not going as a terrorist. All the guys are.
Get it? Your anus, your anus, your anus, your anus.